Wow, you haven't dropped the class after having to watch that intro video. So I guess I'm impressed already that you've made it to this next video. Something I did not cover in the first video. See, so I wasn't really able to keep it under 20 minutes because I'm going to be talking about that video for a minute here. But if you want to learn a little bit more about me, in announcements here, there's the About Me. You can just kind of read my bio and see my background in media and why I'm passionate about teaching this class. Because I have worked in journalism and public relations and online media too. So I have a nice background of different media formats. That's why I enjoy teaching the class. Okay, so let's get into this actual content for this week. Again, to get to the weekly content, you go to weekly content over here. You will only have access to this week one. So let's take a look at week one here. If yours looks like this, you might want to click on that, which expands it, because then you can get to all the different sections quicker. But all right, so here's what we basically have. Review the syllabus. We've already talked about that, and become familiar with Blackboard. Those are two of the aspects I want you to really focus on this week that aren't necessarily tied to the content. What you are going to have to start doing is read chapters 1, 2, 4, and 5. Now, I know this seems overwhelming. It is. That's a lot of reading to do. Keep in mind, though, what I'm really thinking is it's going to take you 2 weeks to read this. So maybe you're starting with 1 and 2 this week, 4 and 5 next week. Or some of you might just be like, hey, I just want to sit down and read through all this. That's fine too. But the reason why I say about 2 weeks is because you're going to have the quizzes on these chapters, but you just have to get them done within 2 weeks. So again, looking at the due dates, clicking over here, due dates. See, both quizzes here are due June 2nd, 11:59 p.m. So you can take the quizzes anytime this week or this week, basically. You've got 2 weeks to take these quizzes, and they're going to be on these chapters. So some of you might want to do 1 and 2, read it this week, and take the quizzes this week. Some of you then might want to read 4 and 5 next week, take those quizzes next week. Just be cognizant that next week there's also going to be some chapters that are going to be given, but you might just always be breaking it up and kind of have a little bit of an overlap. So however you feel familiar, or how you feel comfortable working, manage your time, do it that way, but it's these chapters. Remember, the quizzes too are open book. So here's my recommendation. All right, I'll give you my hesitation here. Some students hear open book and they go, oh, great, I'll just take the quiz and I'll do it at the same time, and I don't have to read it. I'll just look for the answers in those moments. You could risk that, but just be aware of a few things. One is the quizzes you have 30 minutes to complete it, and you have one sitting to do it. So you sit down, once you start your quiz, you can't go revisit it. You have 30 minutes to do it, then it automatically submits it, and that's it. So here's what I think is the best way forward. Read the chapter and highlight, take notes, make key points, or however you normally study. Maybe you make some key points on a Word document. Maybe just highlight the book directly. That's how I like to do it. Just highlight things that I think are important. And just kind of be familiar with the chapter. This way, when you're taking the quiz, you'll have already been familiar with it. So when you see one of those questions, you go, oh, I remember reading about that. And you kind of know where to go in the book. Or you can just revisit it. Or some of them aren't just so. Some of the questions in the quizzes are true, false. Some are short answer. So you might want to have some kind of background on having to learn the material in the moment and then being able to answer. So I think that's really the best way to do it. Read it, take notes, be familiar, treat it almost as that it isn't an open book test. And then when you take the quiz, it'll be that much easier for you, because then you'll be able to know where to go. You might already kind of have the answer, and you can just kind of modify it based on what else you're reading, or you can adjust your thinking to whatever it is that you're reading in the book. Didn't really articulate that the best way, but you get where I'm going with that. All right, so chapters 1, 2, 4, and 5, you have 2 weeks to complete the quizzes. These chapters are basically introducing you to news. So when we say news, what are we talking about? What makes something newsworthy? That's a term you're going to learn this week. So what makes something newsworthy? Why is it that gets the news where another story might not get the news? You're going to also be learning about interviewing. So how do you conduct a good interview? I mean, we all think that we're good interviewers. Actually, I shouldn't say that. Some of us are terrified of talking to people, but many of us think that we're good interviewers until you actually have to do it. And you realize it's a real skill, that it's not always as simple as you think, especially when you have to now write a story after that. It's not just talking to somebody. So you're going to learn the best ways to interview trying to get the information, with the mindset of trying to get information so you'll be able to write a story about it. So these first few chapters are just laying the foundation. It's important. It's important to really study these chapters. As you can see, most of this class is going to be you learning from the book, me guiding you. I'm kind of like your coach, right? I'm your writing coach. So I'm guiding you. I'm going to give you feedback on your written aspect. But a lot of this is learning from the book. This book, I think, does a great job of teaching. So I want you to learn from the book. I'm going to point out what I think is the most crucial information for you, and I'm kind of the one that's going to then, after you learn these lessons from the book and you try to apply it, fine tune it, and I'm going to give you feedback. But the core of this class, the foundation of this class, is what you're learning from the textbook. So the quizzes, like I mentioned in the last video, not only is it that it's a quiz to keep you accountable to reading, but I'm curating. I'm taking the questions that I think are the most important for you to know to be successful in this course, to be a good writer in the media, right? So I'm taking the questions that I'm hoping you're going to learn from and are good for you, good lessons for you to understand. It's not just me randomly choosing some questions. These are all ones I spent a lot of time saying, no, these are the best ones for them to really understand so they can better themselves. So make sure that you're studying. Make sure after you do the quiz, you know what you got right, you know what you got wrong, and why you got maybe some of them wrong, because these are the lessons that are going to make you a better writer. After this week, what I'll do is, and after you had a chance to read some of this, read the chapters, is I might revisit some of these lessons, talk about, what was important. We might have a little discussion over here about what you've been learning. But really, I want you to this first week is just starting to absorb, get yourself used to what news is, and understanding, what we're talking about, getting a good foundation for writing for the news. And then that's going to be where the rest of this class is building on. So these first few chapters are really important for you to understand the lessons, because it builds for the rest of the semester. All right, you also have an exercise to complete in the homework folder. We can click on the homework folder in a minute, but you have an exercise to complete. It's I don't want to say it's short, but it's a written exercise. You're going to see it's a news story that you have to construct, basically, with some of the facts that they gave you. The assignment instructions are there. We'll click on it. The assignment instructions are in the book, but that exercise is, is based on what you're learning in this chapter. And then I'm going to give you feedback on that exercise. So you're starting to see here the flow of things. You're going to learn the main concepts in the chapter. You're going to do an exercise based on what you think you've learned from this chapter, from the quizzes as well, right, on the key information. And then I'm going to give you feedback on what you submitted and say, yeah, you were on the right track with this, or this needs a little work, or maybe you misunderstood this. And then I also give the class general feedback on what I've been seeing. So that's kind of our flow chart here, right? That's how we're going to try to get you to learn this information in this class. And then the last thing too, which is not required, it's not a grade or anything, but it's just going to make you, I think, more a better media writer, is being conscious of the media you're consuming. So I know you guys read the news, maybe not physical newspaper, but you read news online, get it from Snapchat. I know you maybe watch videos, listen to podcasts. That's all media consumption. So start just becoming aware of news, and especially connecting lessons. So things you read in the chapters, see if you're seeing it being applied in the media you're consuming from professionals. Same thing that goes for commercials and advertising. Same thing that goes for public relations, which we won't get to this week, but later on in the semester you'll see. Every time you're learning key lessons connected to the outside world, that's really, I think, the best learning. That's how you're going to be more like a professional, by analyzing and seeing what they're doing, and connecting what you're doing in the classroom, and then it's all going to start to make sense to you. That's our outline for the week. Homework, as you can see, I put the quizzes here, but again, they're not due this week, but this is a quick link for you to get to them, or you could just, we'll go there in a second. You can get to them in assignments. Basic news story, same thing. This will be due this week. You'll see here it's exercise 1 on page 41 in your textbook. The information you need to write the story is on page 42, so read this, you'll understand what I'm talking about. Submit your work as a Word document or something similar. Here's the key. Do not do your work directly on Blackboard. Don't write it in here, or wherever, however yours looks. Don't write it directly in Blackboard. Do it on Word, or some of you have it, your program for your Mac. Do it somewhere else first, and then just submit it as an attachment. If you do it on Blackboard, I'm not able to, it's too hard for me to read and give feedback. So do it as an attachment. And again, it's worth 50 points, and each quiz is worth, 50 points, so it's 100 for the two of them, basically. Okay, that should cover everything. Oh, last thing I was going to say is you can get to, like I just did, those assignments to these quick links, or you could always go to assignments here, and all quizzes will be in the quizzes. All writing assignments, or I'm sorry, well, writing assignments too, but all exercises will be in there too, which will be the basic news story due this week. As always, though, if you have questions about the content this week, or you just want me to expand on something, or whatever your case is, message me. Go to messages, create a message, send me a message. I know sometimes sitting online, you feel very isolated on an online class. You're not with your peers. Next week, we'll do a little introduction for each other, but I know you feel very maybe isolated, and I don't want you to think that way. I mean, I am here able to answer questions. I am a person here live. I don't just do these recordings and then never see you and then don't pay attention until the end of the semester. I know some of you have had classes like that. That's not what this class is. I'm here for you. I'm able to respond. So if you're confused, if you just want an explanation, if you're interested in something, you want to share some insight that you got, message me, and I'll talk to you back. I'm happy to have this connection with you. But you got, that's on you to take advantage of that and make sure that you're utilizing me. All right, get yourself used to get through the kinks this week. I know the first week is the toughest. Get through this week. Next week is going to become a lot easier to you. You're going to be more familiar. But don't sit there scared, nervous, anxiety. Message me if you got an issue. Look forward to seeing your work this week. I'm really looking forward to the semester with you.